What's going on, everyone? Dan Murphy here, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Bitcoin Lightning Network and how this could be a potential game changer for Bitcoin. And with the successful implementation of the Lightning Network, I think it is very possible that we could see a very significant increase in the price of Bitcoin, mainly due to the fact that the Lightning Network is going to address some of the scalability issues and some of the issues with long confirmation times and significant transaction fees. Those are all issues that are going to be are trying to be addressed by the Lightning Network. And I think with all those issues being more or less solved, it's going to basically just increase the ease of use with Bitcoin and make it just a lot easier for people to use Bitcoin. And as a result, I think people feel better about buying Bitcoin and actually using it for their transactions. Because right now, Bitcoin, it's not really being used in terms of transactions. I don't know the exact number, but you can definitely look this up. It's some number. I think it's like less than 5%. I think it might even be less than 3% of all Bitcoin transactions are actually, or the Bitcoin that is being spent. Only about 3% of it is being used for transactions, 3% or less. The vast majority of the time when people buy Bitcoin, they are basically just buying and holding Bitcoin, hoping that the value is going to go up. A lot of times Bitcoin is being likened to digital gold, and it's better right now as a store of value than it is as an actual currency. Like, we call it a cryptocurrency, we call it a digital currency, but the way it's being used, it's not really being used like a currency, it's being used more like a store of value, like digital gold. But yeah, so talking about the Lightning Network, one thing I wanted to just show you real quick is this is a really interesting website. It shows you basically the number of transactions that are occurring right now between all the major cryptocurrencies and ranks them. And we can see here that right now Bitcoin, it is ranked number 3 in terms of number of transactions that are occurring per day. And it's still a very large number of transactions, hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, but I think it's interesting, and it's kind of eye-opening to see that not only is Ethereum having a way more transactions than Bitcoin is having, but Steam is actually the number 1 in terms of transactions, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't really realize that. But even more important thing I wanted to point out that is demonstrated by this chart is, before I was talking about some of the scalability issues with Bitcoin, and while in general I am very optimistic about Bitcoin, however, sometimes I do get a little worried about Bitcoin because I realize that, or the more I learn about cryptocurrencies and the more I learn about all the various altcoins that are out there, just looking at it objectively, you can kind of just tell that, at least technically speaking, a lot of these altcoins are just superior to Bitcoin, at least in terms of their technical and functional performance. They have very little to zero transaction fees in the case of certain altcoins. They have a much shorter transaction time, and confirmation times are much shorter, so it just leads them to being a much more efficient cryptocurrency. And Bitcoin, right now, there's way more activity on the Bitcoin network than what Bitcoin was really designed to be able to handle. And this is very clear when you take a look at this figure right here, which is basically a measure of the ratio of blockchain daily activity compared to the total blockchain capacity. So basically, it's like, how does the level of activity on the network relate to the capacity of the given crypto? And if we take a look at Bitcoin, we are very much in the red right now, with 100% of blockchain capacity reached, to the point where there's so much activity on the Bitcoin network that there are literally hundreds of thousands of unconfirmed transactions that are basically just backed up on the Bitcoin network. And this is the reason why that it takes so long for Bitcoin confirmations to occur, for transactions to be 100% verified. It takes multiple numbers of confirmations. The confirmation time for just one is about 10 minutes, but in order for transactions to be 100% verified and irreversible, it takes somewhere around like 6 to 7 confirmations. So you need 6 to 7 confirmations, each of which takes about 10 minutes. So you're looking at about an hour, at least like an hour, or oftentimes several hours. It can even be days if the network is really backed up, in order for your transactions to be 100% confirmed. And this is evident with the fact that we have over 100,000 unconfirmed transactions on the Bitcoin network that are just, it's a result of all that backup on the network. So there's an issue with Bitcoin right now, and that's pretty much it right there. You can see it clearly. And that is an issue that is hopefully going to be addressed by the Lightning Network. So fear not, there is a solution that is proposed, and that is the Lightning Network. So I'm going to show you check out the Lightning Network website where they give you some information about, just what is the Lightning Network, how does it work. So some of the things that they're trying to achieve, they want instant payments, they want to increase scalability, low cost, some of the other things. So it's going to be powered by using smart contracts on the Bitcoin network. So I'm gonna go into kind of how it works as they describe it. The Lightning Network is dependent upon the underlying technology of the blockchain. By using real Bitcoin or blockchain transactions and using its native smart contract scripting language, it is possible to create a secure network of participants which are able to transact at high volume and high speed. And they're going to make use of bidirectional payment channels, which is when two participants create a ledger entry on the blockchain which requires both participants to sign off on any spending of funds. Both parties create transactions which refund the ledger entry to their individual allocation, but do not broadcast them to the blockchain. They can update their individual allocations for the ledger entry by creating many transaction spending from the current ledger entry output. So that goes pretty deep into kind of the technical aspects of what's going on with this coin. I'm going to leave a link for this website so you can check it out and read it for yourself. That goes really deep into the information. There's also a very informative video here where the developers of the Lightning Network kind of go into, again, just some of the more technical aspects of how this is going to work and the underlying technology behind the Lightning Network. If you are interested by this and you want to learn more about it, I highly recommend you check out this video. It's pretty long, it's about 50 minutes, but you can watch it here on the Lightning Network website. Now, I actually went ahead and I kind of aggregated some of the best information that I could find from looking at various sources to provide what I thought was like a more concise explanation of what is the Lightning Network and kind of what's going on here. So, okay, Bitcoin Lightning Network. This is going to allow Bitcoin to scale and be able to handle hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. Right now, Bitcoin can only handle approximately 7 transactions per second. The Lightning Network will use Bitcoin smart contracts and multi-signature transactions that will operate in a functional layer that is built on top of the Bitcoin network. Peer-to-peer transactions will be sent on a separate channel where individual users will sign off on the transactions that are being sent and received between each other on that channel. The individual transactions that occur on these channels are separate from the main Bitcoin blockchain, and it is the entire transaction history of the channel that gets added to the main blockchain whenever a channel on the Lightning Network is opened or closed. And it is in this way that hundreds, thousands, or even millions of transactions can occur without needing to communicate with the entire Bitcoin network for each transaction. In the current state of things, whenever someone sends or receives Bitcoin, that transaction needs to be communicated to the entire Bitcoin network, which is why it takes so long to achieve consensus with the entire Bitcoin network, since there is a number of confirmations required for each transaction. That's not going to be necessary with the implementation of the Lightning Network. So the implementation of the Lightning Network, this will be a solution that will allow Bitcoin to scale, and it will make the usage of micropayments much more feasible and will eliminate the need for long confirmation times. Thousands of micropayments can be sent without straining the entire Bitcoin network with each transaction, and without incurring massive amounts of transaction fees. Now, as great as all this sounds, it is important to note that the Lightning Network, it's not a 100% perfect solution. There are some issues associated with it, and I'll explain these here. So it's not a perfect solution, since the opening and closing of a channel in the Lightning Network still requires communication and consensus with the main blockchain of the Bitcoin network. Someone could potentially spam the Bitcoin network by rapidly opening and closing channels in the Lightning Network. And because the Lightning Network is built on top of the Bitcoin network, doing this would create strain on the Bitcoin network. Now, this is something that the creators of the Lightning Network are aware of, and they are working on solutions to prevent this issue. And right now, in the current stage of things, the Lightning Network It is still in the testing phase. It's not 100% ready for wide-scale adoption. However, as I mentioned, there have been some tests done on the network. They are working on this, and there actually have been examples of a real-world usage of the Lightning Network. So this is an article on Bitcoin.com where they talk about a real-world example. So, okay, first time real Bitcoin Lightning Network payment was completed via Bit Refill. And this was posted about 3 days ago. So we're definitely getting very close. So, Lightning payment on Bit Refill. Software developer Alex Bosworth has revealed that he successfully completed the first Bitcoin Lightning Network Mainnet. So the Mainnet being not just in the testing environment. Mainnet transaction for an online purchase at Bit Refill. He paid his own actual phone bill with no fees, which executed instantly. Bit Refill is an online service that enables users to top up their prepaid mobile phone plans with Bitcoin and Litecoin with over 600 operators across 150 countries. The Lightning Network is a scaling solution that has been in development for a few years already, and this protocol creates an off-chain system by forming a network of payment channels where funds are not entrusted to a third party, and it theoretically promises to scale Bitcoin by allowing thousands of transactions per second without compromising its trustless nature. So definitely some cool stuff there. It's definitely good that the Lightning Network is actually being used, and we have evidence of that. This is another article from Bitcoinist.com saying the Bitcoin Lightning Network is coming, and you can actually have the ability right now to do a test transaction. However, you scroll down here, they do provide a link where you can test it out right now. So right now, in order to educate potential Lightning Network users, you can use this website, and you can try a testnet Bitcoin Lightning Network transaction. So I'm going to leave a link for this in the description as well. It's also accessible through this article, where I will also leave a link for this article in the description. But so you can go and check out the testnet of Lightning Network already, and you kind of see for yourself what it's going to be like. So it should be an interesting experience there. You can familiarize yourself with the user interface, because if this does end up taking off, you probably do want to at least get a feel for it just to see what it's going to be like. So yeah, I'm definitely optimistic about this Lightning Network, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that the Lightning Network is going to be like a game changer for Bitcoin? And if it does end up launching successfully and does achieve a level of wide-scale adoption, is this going to lead to a massive spike in the price of Bitcoin? Because I think it certainly can, because right now I think the only thing holding people back from buying more Bitcoin and using Bitcoin might be some, certain level of fear or uncertainty and doubt associated with some of the the technical issues of Bitcoin that we're experiencing right now, such as long confirmation times and significant transaction fees. And all these problems are theoretically going to be addressed by the Lightning Network, where we can be in a position in the future where we're able to actually use Bitcoin efficiently and effectively as a digital currency as it was originally intended, where we can use it for doing micropayments without paying absurd amounts of transaction fees. So definitely interesting stuff there. But all right, I think with that, I'm going to conclude this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, like this video, hit that like button, give it that thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you want to get some more cryptocurrency related content. And hopefully you had a great day, and peace out.